What is up, everybody? It is the Lemons Are Us here, and today I will be teaching you guys how to make detection scripts and how to know when a brick has either touched a player or when it's touched another brick. And there are a few concepts, really mistakes, rookie mistakes that a lot of people, including myself, have made when first experiencing and testing out detection scripts for myself, because I remember when I first started scripting, basically I tried using a detection script and it didn't detect something, and I was like, why is that happening? And it took me about 2 hours looking through the forums to basically get the answer, and it was actually really simple. So I'll be telling you guys about that one, because I think it might bug you in the future if you do want to delve into like a lot of detection script stuff. And also detection scripts are very important because if you want to make like an RPG, or if you just want to make any game pretty much that is good, you will need to use detection scripts probably, because you'll always have to know, like, let's say when a player touches a button, they get a gun or they get a weapon. You'll need a detection script to do that. So let's go ahead, and I'll go ahead and teach you guys how to do that. First, let's go insert a part into our place. So now that we have our part, we want to go and insert a script inside of our part. Oops, what is that? Okay, so let's go to insert object and let's go to script. Now that we have our script, let's get rid of print hello world. And let's go ahead and create a function. So this function will be basically our detection script. But first, we need to refer to our part first. So how do we do that? Well, like I showed you guys in the last video, we just set part, which is a variable, equals script.parent. And this only works if you have script inside of the part. And if you guys are still confused about that dot thing, like I said, script and then dot means that you're either going up or down. In this case, we say parent. Parent always means up in Explorer. So just think of it as script dot, do we go up or down? Well, it says parent, so we're going up in Explorer. And what's up? One up of script in Explorer, it's part. So we're referring to the variable part to part in Explorer. So now that we have part, we pretty much want to just do part.touched connect function hit, and just type in what I just typed in basically, and we'll have print hit.name dot was touched by the brick, by the part. Okay, so you guys are probably like, what the heck, Lemons, did you just do? Well, let's take a look at our function first. Basically, part.touched means that .touched is actually an event. So what happens is when an event is something that happens when a specific a circumstance basically happens in game. So in this case, the circumstance is touched. So whenever part gets touched, it will fire, or it will execute code that we see right in the middle of here. So it'll print hit.name was touched by the part. Then you guys are probably like, what is hit? So just remember that this semicolon over here just means you it's kind of like you have to do it. It's not, there's no really like explanation. This part, there's no explanation. Just follow it. Follow what I typed down, and you should be good. I mean, no worries after that, pretty much. But you guys are probably like, what's hit? Well, hit is our argument, and I explained that in my first video. An argument is basically something that is not defined, so we don't know what it is until it happens. So in this case, what do we not know until it happens? Well, we don't know what touched it, basically. So whatever touched it takes on the variable, or takes on the role as hit. So whatever touches it will print out its name, and we'll say that was touched by the part. And if we pretty much execute this in our in our game, we'll see that this actually works out. So let's go touch our part, and you can see left leg was touched by the part, humanoid root part was touched by the part. And you can see how these have different values each time, because like I said, an argument has different values. Whatever you put into it, or whatever it's supposed to be, is going to be that value. In this case, hit, just remember when you're doing touched, just look at this part. It says touched, so that means this argument should be related to touched. It's always related to the event, and our event is touched, so hit will be whatever gets touched, if that helps you remember it. So just, this is pretty much dependent on whatever this is. And because it's touched, whatever touches the brick obviously becomes hit. And it's really that simple. And you guys are probably wondering, like, okay, why does this function look weird though? It has a bracket at the end of it. This is what we call an anonymous function. An anonymous function is basically a function that that isn't really defined in your code afterwards. It's defined, like, you write the code as you go, sort of. So it's not like you're making a function like this. So let's say function on touched, right? Function on touched end, and we put stuff inside here. So let's go ahead and say, whoops, my mouse is not working. Print, my mouse is not working. Okay, why not? And as you can see, this function, you have to call it like this. But if we use an anonymous function, we don't even have to call it. Like, we don't have to waste lines of code by doing ontouched and writing that again to call the function. We just have to write it like this, and it will fire automatically this part whenever the part gets touched. So it's great. You can do it both ways. So like, you could do it pretty much connect on touched, and if this was your function, you could do it as like that as well. But many people, and when you get to advanced scripting, you will probably use this way the most as well, because you can't really use hit. You cannot know what touched the part if you're going to do it on like the way I showed you guys before. So the regular way of creating a function, you have to use an anonymous function. And if you're going to ask why, don't ask why right now. It's not really that important. Just remember that you should use an anonymous function when it comes to events. And in this case, use an anonymous function because anonymous functions are kind of like as you go. Well, the functions that you define regularly, like before in your code, and you have to call, those ones are like not as you go. Those ones are you prepare for the stuff to happen before even the script starts. It's kind of like God's plan. But this is not God's plan. This is kind of like improvisation, if that helps you with your image. So just remember that you should use anonymous functions when it comes to detection events and detection scripts in general. There are some cases where you don't want to use them, but if you want to know what touches the part, then it is highly important that you use anonymous functions. So yeah, now we have our brick touching the player, which is all great and dandy. But what if we want it to move as well? Well, I showed you guys in the last video how to make a brick move, but I'll go ahead and do that right now. So let's say on move. So this is just going to be a normal function. So let's call this function move part. And for I equals 1 to 10, do end and part dot C frame equals, oh, I hate writing C frame because it takes so long, honestly, to write everything down, and it's just a pain, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay, so C frame dot Y minus I part dot C frame dot Z. So I showed you guys in the last scripting tutorial what this all means. If you want to go back to the last one and check it out, then you can. But basically, this just moves it down from its original position. So, and we'll just say wait 1. So this should make the brick go down now, because instead of adding I, we're doing subtracting I. So we're subtracting its Y height each time by I, as you can see. So it's going down. And let's go ahead and try this out. And this is just a normal function, so we want to put it after this our event, because if you put it before our event, then it'll move it and it'll keep repeating the for loop, but it won't get to the part where this part of the code. So we always want to put the move part function after our event, because the script reads this first and it acknowledges, okay, I guess that's supposed to happen. But if we do this first, it won't even get to this part. So what I mean is, like, if I put this before this, then it'll basically ignore this, which is bad. So we want to always put it after. I know it's a little thing, but it's important to remember. So let's go ahead and let's start our script. And as you can see, oops, you always want to anchor your part when you're doing the moving down scripts. I guess when you get to more advanced scripting, you don't have to do that. But for now, let's do that. Oh, and as you can see, when it moved down, it touched us, and it basically violated our free space. No. Okay, so when it moved down, it touched us, and it printed on the output that it was touched by the part, which was left leg, right leg, and our character. So that is how you make a part move, and that is also how to use detection as well to detect what basically detected it on its way as it was moving. So the tip that I want to tell you guys that really bothered me when I was first learning detection scripts is that basically you need to have an anchored part and an unanchored part to detect. If you have two anchored parts, so let's say you have this anchored part over here, it will not detect what hit it, because they're both anchored. So as you can see, it's not saying anything even though it just crossed the brick, and you're like, what the heck is that? It touched the brick. It touched the brick, dude. You know, like, oh my gosh, unsubscribe. But like what happened is they're both anchored. So when two parts that are anchored go through each other, Roblox will not allow detection to happen. And don't ask me why that happens. I think it's just because of glitches or whatever, but they will not allow that to happen. So always make sure that when you're using detection, that one part is unanchored, like the character. The character is not anchored because you have to control it, and one part is anchored. So the brick that was going down was anchored, and when it touched us, it basically allowed detection to happen. And if you know a little bit about physics, just remember, like, negative and positive attracts. So the same thing, anchored and unanchored parts make detection happen, and not anchored and anchored, and not unanchored and unanchored, because it will not show anything on the output or detect anything because of Roblox's integration features or whatever. So yeah, that's basically how you create detection scripts and how to detect stuff while your brick is moving in game. I hope this scripting tutorial helped you guys out, and yeah, if you like this video, please leave a like. I really appreciate it. And subscribe to see more of these scripting tutorials and to learn how to basically make awesome games on Roblox. Alright, so thank you guys, and I'll see you guys later.